Thank you so much for tuning in to Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. I'm your host, as always, Christian D. Evans. You guys, we have a very special guest on today. This individual is an investor and entrepreneur. He's the founder and chairman of Diamond Wealth. He represents over 100 family offices, ranging in size from $250 million to $30 billion. Diamond Wealth invests in private markets, private equity, venture capital, real estate, and all the different alternative investing. He is a division that focuses on philanthropy, wealth transfer, investment banking, and social impact and governance. He is also the advisory board of 10 privately held companies and acts as a chairman for 4 of them. He is also the chair of 2 Tiger 21 chapters in Chicago and chairs a newly created family office group of Tiger 21. Early in his career, this man founded Pinnacle Capital, which had a $250 million hedge fund that outperformed the S&P index 10 out of 10 years. So you should listen to this guy, and I'm so excited about having him on. Please welcome the CEO and founder of Diamond Wealth, the one and only Ron Diamond. How are you doing today, Ron?
Terrific. Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, man, I'm excited about to have you on, and I was listening to a lot of your other content out there, and you've been featured on all sorts of fun different things. You've spoken hundreds upon hundreds of different events. But one of the things I wanted to ask you right off the bat is you got into the hedge fund world, but it was interesting how you got into the hedge fund, but it was almost an accident. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey and your story from hedge fund to what you're doing now, man.
Well, I got into the hedge fund space. So I graduated from Northwestern and I got a job at Drexel Burnham. So Drexel Burnham was like Goldman Sachs on steroids in the 80s. It was the most profitable firm on Wall Street. So I was 24 with my first job, and I'm in a room with we had 10 other kids in the training program with me. But I'm in a room with Fred Joseph, who's the CEO of Drexel, and all the senior executives from Drexel when they announced they're going bankrupt. And it was a surreal scene because it was my first job out of college, and Drexel was such a profitable firm. And my takeaway from that was, I lost a good job. I didn't lose stock options. I'm watching people in their 60s and 70s literally openly weeping. I mean, in the 80s, certainly on Wall Street, you typically didn't see men cry, but you did. And many of them lost most or all of their money. And my takeaway from that was that I would always be loyal to people, extremely loyal, but never to a company. Because if that could happen to Drexel, that could happen to anybody. So based on that, I ended up moving back to Chicago. My father was sick, and I ended up starting a hedge fund. So that's how I got into it.
What was interesting about this is you saw that evolution of people crying. And how did that make an impact in your decision making during that time to start, obviously, the company you have now?
It had a huge impact. I had zero intention on starting my own company or starting a hedge fund. My goal was, hopefully, if I did well, I'd stay at Drexel for 45 years and hopefully run one of the divisions. That was my goal. But when I'm watching it, and again, it was a surreal moment, and I vividly remember who I was next to. I could remember colors. I could remember scents. I could remember sounds, because it was such a surreal moment, and it really, really resonated with me because a lot of these people felt. I'm going to use the word betrayed, and that might be a bit of a harsh word, but a lot of people felt really let down by Drexel going under because at the time, they weren't sure they were going to, or at least they said they weren't going to. So it really resonated with me. And when you're 24 and it's your first job, and you're watching people who were uber successful, who lost most, if not all, of their money, many of them, it had a lasting impact on me. And again, the loyalty to people deepened, the loyalty to a company lessened.
And let me ask you this, because obviously you pivot into the wealth management side of things as a facilitator, and you've been able to be on numerous boards. How do you use that same decision making or same thing that you learned during that time in your day-to-day operations now, as well as leading your own company, Diamond Wealth?
Well, I think a lot of it, my entire business is built upon relationships.
So I want to.
So when people say, how do you get in the family office world, or how do you do this? Everything that I've done is built upon relationships. And what I've done a pretty good job of is I surround myself with people that are smarter than me in various areas, that I trust implicitly, and I delegate. And if you do that, typically you're going to have a pretty good avenue of success. I can't hear you or see you.